Takes Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. The back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race. House call. Touchdown. 79 yards. Big one in the Peach Bowl. This is a big one too. And it's going to go all the way to the house on the first play from scrimmage.
Bearcat Blitz winding down the month of June here across the Believe Network. I'm your host, Russ Heltman from Cincinnati Bearcats on SI, and we'll be lumping my co-host Neil Meyer into the mix here in just a little bit. We're presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where the World Cup action is hot and heavy. Round of 32 continues this week, and new customers can bet $1, get $250 in bonus cash if the United States reaches the round of 16 when you sign up. And also you get, I'm pretty sure, a daily 30% profit boost to use on the cup when you are wagering across these games. Got plenty of action on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Wednesday, the U.S. back on the pitch against Bosnia and Herzegovina. They are minus 750 to advance in that matchup against Bosnia. Huge favorites to move on. And then elsewhere Wednesday, Senegal taking on Belgium. Belgium minus 170 to move on there. And the first game of the day, England taking on the Democratic Republic of the Congo. England minus 850, big favorites to move on to the round of 16. Head to FanDuel Sportsbook today to bet on the World Cup as it continues across North America this month, winding down the month of June and into the thick of July. A few Bearcats topics to touch on today, all football, this portion of things, as we look at the class of 2027 so far for Cincinnati Bearcats football, starting to finalize, probably get a few more commitments here or there, but definitely over halfway past a large part of putting together this class of 2027. Then we got Big 12 Media Days early next week. Neil will be there. We'll talk about the representatives going to Big 12 Media Days, and then we'll close out the show with what our best case scenario record is for the Cincinnati Bearcats football team this coming season. All that coming up on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, right here on the Believe Network. Stick with us. Neil Meyer with the front office news. Tapping into the show now as we look at the Cincinnati Bearcats class of 2027 football commitment list. Neil, it's been added to pretty heftily over the past few weeks. 18 hard commitments as we sit here today, according to 24/7 Sports. It's ranked 51st nationally as the class of 2027 among all FBS teams, highlighted by 189 ranking overall or better player and Ronnie Gomiller, athlete from East St. Louis, 3-star talent, 5'10", 187 pounds. And he is the highest rated commit on the board right now for Cincinnati. Other than that, it's pretty well fleshed out. You got one quarterback mixed in there when you look at Camden Hughes out of College Park, 81st ranked quarterback in the class of 2027. He is the lone signal caller in the class. You got 2 running backs right now, Neil, 1 receiver, 4 offensive linemen, 3 defensive linemen, so 7 trench pieces, 1 linebacker, 5 DBs, and 1 special teamer as we sit here today. Kind of the similar strategy that we've seen from this Scott Satterfield talent acquisition team of finding those diamonds in the rough in the mid to lower tier 3-star range, trying to develop them there and kind of keeping your powder dry and not making those massive gambles on NIL packages for guys in the higher 4-star or even 5-star range. Neil, I don't know that we'll ever see this staff add a 5-star talent, just given they don't really seem to be interested in going after those players with their roster construction and how they want to use their finances.
Yeah, Russell, when you look down and you see how this 2027 recruiting class is kind of shaping up, which, I mean, Russ, hearing us say 2027 recruiting class is pretty interesting knowing how fast time goes. I can't believe we're already talking about guys in the 2027 class. It feels like just yesterday we were talking about the historic 2020 class. So overall for Cincinnati, you kind of broke it down there, highlighted by Ronnie Go-Miller, the talented athlete out of St. Louis. Probably going to be looking at him at your wide receiver position. That's where he's been recruited for at Cincinnati. But some of the other guys that they have recently added, JT Austin out of Sandy Creek, Georgia. That is going to be an interesting addition there at that linebacker position. Saw some great tape on him the other day, Russ, and I don't think we have seen a prospect like that with that kind of bend and that kind of movement that JT Austin displayed in that kind of one-on-one drill settings from a few weeks back. So I was really excited to see that. But another name that really stands out to me, Russ, too, is a guy you probably might have hit on a little bit as referenced as the one wide receiver, Chad Willis, the 6'3", 213-pound wide receiver out of Michigan. That's going to be a guy that Cincinnati is going to have a lot of suitors for, fighting for his services come down to December when signing day comes around. When you look down right now, I mean, he's recently picked up offers from Alabama. He's recently visited recently visited Auburn, and North Carolina. So a lot of interest starting to come in for a guy like Chad Willis. But Russ, like you mentioned, getting back to it, I don't think we're going to see this staff land a quote-unquote five-star just because of the staff has kind of shown, hey, they don't like to spend that kind of money in the NIL portal. But B, this is also a staff that likes to go after these diamond in the rough guys and really mold them in the high school ranks and the transfer portal ranks, which we have seen in recent years. So overall, I do like how this class is shaping up to be. 2 running backs is actually noticeably something to talk about, Russ, because in the first 3 years under Scott Satterfield, they have only brought in 1 running back the last 3 years in the high school ranks. So to see 2 in there is pretty interesting.
Seems about right. Seems like kind of typically what they've done, and they're sticking to the strategy that has been entrenched in the high school ranks. I think it's solid class so far, and you just want to be kind of right around the top 55. Kind of make sure you're in the top half of the FBS with that high school class talent, develop it with that strong coaching staff that Scott Satterfield has amassed, and hopefully turn them into bona fide, legit star talent players worthy of big NIL contracts once they hit their sophomore and junior season, stuff like that. Looking at the Big 12 Media Days coming up, Neil, as we kind of put the class of 2027 in the rearview mirror, 18 commitments as we sit here today, ranked 51st nationally on 24/7 Sports. Cincinnati headed to Big 12 Media Days this coming week when I think they'll be talking to the media on Wednesday. July 8th, I believe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll have JC French, Antoine Peak, Evan Tangistal, and Taryn Tayo talking with the media. Everybody out there at the Star in Frisco, Texas. Pretty much exactly who I expected to go from this group. Maybe Jonathan Thompson would have mixed in, but as a kind of split between the defense and the offense. Got 3 offensive guys now and 1 defense, but those are the kind of top leaders on the team, Neil, heading into 2026, the 2026 season.
Yeah, I'm excited too. Obviously, like you mentioned, I'll be down in Frisco, Texas next week to kind of take in and observe Big 12 Media Days and have all the latest stories and stuff from Scott Satterfield and those select 4 players. But Russ, I think it's important for Cincinnati to bring guys like Evan Tangasol, Taryn Tayo, Antoine Peak, and JC French, right? Because when you look down, I mean, Cincinnati is the guys they are bringing are some of the most experienced guys compared to some of the other teams, right? Evan Tangasol, a 4-year player here at the University of Cincinnati. Antoine Peak, a 4-year player. Now, despite JC French being his first year and Taryn Tayo's second year, Cincinnati is doing something that not many of these other schools are doing, and that's bringing 4-year guys to Big 12 Media Days. And obviously, Tangasol and Taryn Tayo are 2 of your leaders up front there alongside Joe Cotton. Going to be a big part for a guy like JC French and his success this season. So Cincinnati's offense is going to toot their own drum, and it starts with their offensive line. If their offensive line can stay healthy, Russ, I truly believe that Cincinnati could put up good numbers like they put up last year, where they were able to put up some significant points. They were able to lead the Big 12 in yards per play, all that. But they got a lot of talent up front in the trenches. Evan being one of the highest ranked guards in the country, Taron being one of the up and comers. Obviously, he's getting a lot of praise for the strength and the continuity there in the offensive line. So I'm excited to see. And I kind of wish they probably would have brought 5 to Big 12 Media Days. You can bring up to 6 players. Cincinnati electing to go with only 4. But Jonathan Thompson would have probably been a nice little addition sprinkled in there with Antoine Peak Jr. And Russ, I'm excited to hear Antoine and these guys break down the new offense, the new defense there as well. So I'm excited. I'm really excited to be in Frisco next week at the Star.
Cannot wait. Cannot wait to see what they all have to say. And we're getting close, Neil. We are getting close. About a month and roughly 2 months away from the start of the season. September 5th, Boston College at home, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And we will get to all of the good stuff there in just a moment. Get to the best case scenario for this Bearcats football team after these messages on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where perfect time to check the Big 12 title odds ahead of the best case scenario segment for the Cincinnati Bearcats football team. Texas Tech still firmly the betting favorite to win the Big 12 this coming season on FanDuel Sportsbook. They hold a plus 100 odds, and Cincinnati now tied for the lowest odds on the board. They have not dropped in odds, though, just a shoot up a little bit from Colorado. They have gone from 100 to 1 to 80 to 1, tied for the lowest odds, the worst odds to win the Big 12, with Cincinnati at 80 to 1 and Iowa State also now at 80 to 1. I mean, Neil, they firmly have those 3 teams as the 3 worst teams in the league. The next closest odds are West Virginia at 40 to 1 and UCF and Baylor at 35 to 1, respectively. We'll get to all of that and why Cincinnati is so far down the board after these messages on Bearcat Blitz, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Tough schedule awaits Scott Satterfield in his 4th season at the helm of the Cincinnati Bearcats football program, Neil. And it's the biggest reason why, in my opinion, FanDuel Sportsbook, so many of these sportsbooks have Cincinnati as the bottom of the barrel, in the basement of projected teams for the 2026 Big 12 season, tied for the worst odds to win the Big 12. I mean, double the next closest odds of the 14th or 13th odds team on the board from FanDuel Sportsbook. And Neil, the biggest reason why is this schedule. It is so tough. One of the easily top 20 most difficult schedules in the country, arguably the most difficult schedule in the entire Big 12 when you kind of compare them to the rest of their, I mean, they're right in the mix with this toughest schedule in the league. Baylor, definitively, if you go by last year's win rate for their opponents this coming season, had a 61.7% opposing win rate last year for their opponents this fall. That's the 8th toughest nationally. West Virginia at tied for the same toughness at 61.7%. Then you got Indiana at 10th hardest nationally with a 94 and 59 opposing 2026 opponent record from last season, and Cincinnati 59.5%, a 91 and 62 record for their opponents this coming fall. That was their total record for their opponents this coming fall last season. So, Neil, I say best case scenario is 9-3. 9-3 to me seems like the best case scenario. It would be stunning if this team won double-digit games in the regular season. It's just going to be so difficult to pull that off, considering, I mean, you're facing 3 ranked teams from last year, plus tough matchups against other teams that are right near the top of the odds board. When you think about, you got Texas Tech, BYU, and Utah on this schedule, plus Kansas State mixed in there as well on September 26th at home. That to me is a must-win game to reach this 9-3 scenario. And then look at some of the other tough games, like at Houston, not going to be easy. They're not a ranked team from last year, but they're 5th in title odds to win the Big 12 right now at 18 to 1. I mean, you're facing all 5 of the top teams to win the Big 12 in odds, and he also got Arizona mixed in there as well for a matchup on the road at Arizona, your first time leaving the state of Ohio for a game this coming season. Neil, it feels like 9-3 is the best case scenario, and to me, I don't know how they get there unless they start 5-0 before heading into the first bye week.
Yeah, and Russ, it's worth noting too for the listeners here. Russ and I don't correlate our schedule rankings on this one, but we are pretty close on this one. He has 9-3. I think best case scenario for Cincinnati is you find a way to go 8-4, and that's pretty spot on to what you're saying too, Russ. Because when you look down at this schedule, like you mentioned, your whole month of September, you're here in the state of Ohio, right? That first game on the road in Arizona is not going to be easy. Now it's slotted depending on the time frame and everything. If it's a night game, you might have a little bit of time to get used to the time difference, the altitude, the heat, whatever might be going on out there in Arizona. But for me, Russ, I think those 4 games that I'm looking at for Cincinnati that are going to be difficult would be Saturday, October 3rd versus Arizona, October 21st or October 24th versus Texas Tech in homecoming week, October 31st versus Utah, and on the road to end the season at BYU, I think is going to be a hard challenge. And that's just because it's Provo, right? Provo is not an easy place to play.
And you don't get to face Texas Tech in the Will Hammond recovery window. He's going to be fully recovered.
You get a healthy Will Hammond.
Yeah, you should. He's expected to be fully healthy by that point, given the time.
Right. And on top of it too, Russ, you mentioned the Houston game, and that's late enough into the season where if Houston's not winning ball games with Connor Wegman as your quarterback, Cincinnati could be getting a 5-star quarterback in Keyshawn Henderson at quarterback for the Houston Cougars as well. And that could be something that could throw Cincinnati off. That's not going to be an easy game as well. So I'm glad you threw that game in the mix as being one of those challenging games, because at that point in the season, if things aren't going well with Connor Weigman as your quarterback, then what happens, right? They're going to have to make a change, and you don't bring a 5-star in just to sit on the bench, right? They're going to have it on a short leash, if I had to imagine, down there in Houston. If things aren't going well with the first 1 or 2 Big 12 games, they're probably going to make a change at quarterback, right? And the Big 12, that's it, Russ. I mean, when you look down, Cincinnati's schedule, especially in the month of October, is a gauntlet.
Crazy.
It is a daunting schedule, and the fact is you have 2 of those on the road, right? Arizona and West Virginia. And then you have your bye week after Arizona. So you get Arizona, and then you get a kind of a bye week refresher before you have to go into West Virginia on the road, Texas Tech, Utah. It's not going to be an easy back half of the schedule for Cincinnati. And the hope for Cincinnati is they're going to have to go into that bye week completely healthy if they want to make a run in that back half of the season and reach that 8-4 threshold, in my opinion.
You'd love to have that Iowa State game kind of earlier in the schedule, I think, than where it sits. It's Saturday, November 14th at Iowa State. I mean, by that point, the Cyclones could be fully put together with that kind of completely brand new roster that they're trying to cement. And that's a win that you really cannot afford to let slip through your fingers going up against a team that is right in that mix of 3 teams that I mentioned earlier in the show have the 3 worst odds to win the Big 12. Neil Grolin with 8-4. I'm at 9-3. Probably more realistically, the best case here is 8-4. I mean, there is no real chance, like I mentioned, of them going 9-3 against this schedule unless they start 5-0 in the 2026 season. That would be an exciting start. That would be a lot of fun during that bye week in the middle of October to be discussing a 5-0 Cincinnati Bearcats team. From our mouth to the football god's ears, we'll see what happens with Cincinnati this coming fall. A little quick look at the best case scenario for Cincinnati and what is going to be one of the top 20 projected most difficult schedules in the entire country. Top 4 most difficult in the Big 12. For Neil Meyer, I'm Russ Heltman. This has been Bearcat Blitz on the Believe Network. Have a great week, everybody. Talk to you all again soon.
6, Ritter to the end zone, looking for Pierce. Did he hang on? Yes. Touchdown. Back as I've been around. Here he goes again. Busts free. Jerome Ford down the sideline. Foot race.